Check one. Mark, am I getting you?
There you go.
We got sound.
Yes, we do.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Keith, how are you doing, buddy?
I am well. I am well. I'm keeping my video image up there just for you.
Let me turn on my video.
Oh, good stuff. And by the way, look I got a switch up now.
There you go. Oh, there you go. Looking good.
Yeah.
Looking good. How you been?
I've been great, man. Keeping very busy. How about you?
Nonstop. That and 3 kids, 11, 14, and 17, that keep me busy.
Congratulations on all of that. It's beautiful, man. Thank you so much for joining. I'm also recording right now, but I wanted to just say thank you. I really appreciate it. I know how busy you are. And I'll buzz through a couple questions, but this is really called a little podcast called The Look Back. It's supposed to be a little fun look back on some of the early days. But I'm going to have to ask you a couple questions about the Mavericks. I don't know about the playoffs this year. I'm concerned.
Yeah, we'll be all right. We'll be all right. Well, we play the Lakers tonight, so we'll know a whole lot more tonight.
How about playing Warriors versus Mavs?
That would be a hell of a game, a hell of a series. That's for damn sure.
And NBA would love it, but we'd love to see both teams moving forward,
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
Mark, I was so excited when you guys won the championship, and obviously the couple times we are. So we have to find ways to get back there now.
I'm ready. I'm definitely ready.
I was going to joke with you. I haven't seen you get teed up for anything lately or any fines. You're starting to mellow.
No, I'm not starting to mellow. I'm just being considerate because of all the COVID stuff going on. Even the refs have to deal with that. So I've decided to take it a little bit easier on them. I even tell them that. I tell them, like, before a game last night, I was talking to one of the refs. I'm like, look, I'm taking it easy on you guys just because of everything going on, because you guys have it rough too. But I'll get back to yelling at you real soon.
That's awesome. The best owner, the most engaged owner out there. Okay. Seriously, you haven't seen my game in a while. You and I were shooting hoops at one conference, I remember, way back in the Battelle industry standard days. I forget even where we were. Okay, you and Dirk versus me and Luca.
I got me and Dirk.
Okay, but three pointers. I got to work on my three. I got to get Steph to take me out and work on my three a little bit. But my game is definitely been weak the last 15 months.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played pickup since pre-pandemic, but I get out there and shoot. So I've had a chance to work on my shot some. I'm feeling confident.
I bet you are. And you also get your workouts in on all that other good stuff. So what a fun extra benefit of owning the team. You get to use all the great facilities and coaches.
One of the best parts is being able to go before a game and get up shots. Like, we play the Lakers tonight, big game. We played the Pistons yesterday and we won. But like yesterday, I went down to the practice court before the game and got shots up. I'll do the same thing tonight, probably on the center court because it's a later game. So that's just the best part, going out on the arena floor and just shooting because like it's my, like it's my court, because it is. And
does any other owner get out there and hoist shots?
Maybe Michael Jordan, but I don't think so.
I could tell some other stories, but I want to keep this moving. Okay, let's rock back, because I just marvel at some of those earliest days in the industry where I ran into you. You were doing the NetWear thing.
Yep.
And this is before broadcast.com for the listeners. This was early days. Where were you? Yeah, take me back.
I was in my 20s. So I got fired from a software store in 1983 and started a company called Micro Solutions, just me, and then me and someone else, then me and one of my buddies. And that thing just kept on growing and growing and growing. And we were one of the very first, probably one of the first 3 Novell NetWear dealers. We were selling Banyan, we were selling Microsoft networks. We were the people you went to decide if it was going to be Ethernet or ArcNet or GNet, whatever, all those different, networking alternatives. Then we started writing software, taught myself how to program, wrote database applications and then different apps, and just kept on growing and growing and growing, and went, 6, 7 straight years without a vacation and just all consumed. And that, then I sold it and got to write for CRN with you.
Is that funny? Remember the year of the land? We had that. We kept joking how that was going to be a 5-year, the year of the land, and went on for half a decade.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because we were, it was the year of the land always, because, that was where we started making our money, when we started selling Novell and Televideo, which was an OEM version of Novell. And I remember back then, it was hard enough to get people to understand what a PC was good for and how to do software, let alone connecting them together. And those were back in the days when, just to be able to sell Lotus 123, a spreadsheet, you had to pay to go get certified in order to be able to sell it for $500 back in the 80s. It was crazy.
Yeah, I remember the box too that it came in. It was like 50 pounds. Well, it's a kind of a funny transition from that operation to when you actually wrote wrote the column for CRN. And the funny thing is, it was stock. You were doing stock tips, and mostly on the shorter hedge side of things.
Well, a little bit of both, because that was back when you guys had a stock picking contest.
Right.
So I used to go in there and win the stock picking contest. And
that's right.
And Jim Cramer still talks to me about that to this day, about reading CRN and using my stock picks. But it was great because, I remember you asking me and taking the train up from New York up to Long Island, and just thinking it was such a big deal, for me to be able to do that, and putting my picture in CRN, and, being able to go as press to Comdex and CES and all these things. I was just so excited. And, and I remember, writing all these columns on sales and being an integrator and being a reseller. And, back then, like now, it's changed in terms of who, what, and where, but it's still just about finding solutions for customers.
Absolutely. It really, in fact, the channel, as arcane as it is, it's as vital today as ever.
Yeah, especially now with all the work at home and all the security and all the customization, and it takes people to do that. There's so much to integrate that it's not easy.
Yeah. Remind me how you did the jump over to broadcast.com. I know the story about the Indiana games and wiring them with Todd and all that great stuff, but remind me how you made that switch professionally.
Well, I mean, we were AudioNet, just doing audio. And you talking about me personally, or just how we went from audio to video with broadcast?
Yeah.
So we were just audio with AudioNet, and it was inevitable that we were going to have to do video. And we hung on. The hardest part actually was finding a good URL that we could use. And so I had somebody reach out to me trying to sell me this URL, broadcast.com, and I forget how much he wanted, but I remember we ended up buying it for $8,000. And I was like, okay, we got the URL, now's the time. And so that really pushed us. And then obviously it took a lot with the software and, the client to make it work, and then figuring out the bandwidth, because that was the hard part. Going from audio to video, it wasn't conceptually hard. It was just dealing with the amount of bandwidth and the cost of bandwidth and servers, because it really wasn't a cloud back then. We had thousands of servers that needed bandwidth and maintenance.
And we got to listen to games over the internet, and you were helping pioneer that. What was ultimately the trigger? Because Yahoo said, we need to have this. We're a media company. We need to record more of this stuff. What happened, though? It seemed like it all of a sudden took a pause for 5 years.
Well, I mean, that was Yahoo. I mean, when we sold to Yahoo, we were crushing it. We were dominating. We were Pandora. We were Spotify. We were YouTube. You name it. We had, video. We had TV stations we were streaming. We had movies. We had bought 10% of Trimark, which was the predecessor to Lionsgate Studios. So we had content. We had live shows. We had on-demand shows. We had user-uploaded content. Everything. But then when the bubble burst, Yahoo's board just freaked out, and their stock price went down, and all they cared about was the stock price and not, dealing with the future. And they certainly didn't ask me.
So even though you were seeing great user growth, it wasn't throwing off the kind of returns that they were looking for.
It wasn't that, because we were cash flow break even.
Yeah.
We really were. It wasn't like we were costing them a lot of money at all. I mean, our last quarter as a public company, I think we lost $3 million. That was it.
Yeah.
And then the next quarter we were cash flow break even, and we're on the way to cash flow positive. But Yahoo, they went through multiple CEOs. They just, they just freaked out. And
so it's so fair to say, looking back, obviously you sold it and you got a great price for it when you sold it, but maybe could have bought it back and turned it into pre-Spotify, or could be competing more with Yahoo.
Yeah. Would they have sold it to me? No. Should they have been YouTube and Spotify and Pandora? Absolutely. I mean, there's even a company we bought, Net Roadshow, that is just crushing it right now for, during the pandemic in particular, for companies that want to go public, and guy named Brad and just things like that. They just gave it away, and they just screwed up.
Yeah, Yahoo wasn't the best. They weren't the best at taking companies and acquiring them and turning them into something bigger, really.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because Jerry Yang is super smart. He's one of the smartest guys I know, but I guess he just got tired of dealing with the confrontation of the board, and that was it. But yeah, it's a shame.
Okay, well, let's move on to something a little bit more on the upbeat side too, because I love what you're doing on Shark Tank, and it's so fun to watch. Obviously, I don't get in front of it as much as I'd like to, but whenever I see it, I'm just like so amazed at how you bring the energy that represents the true startup entrepreneur and the economy around that.
Yep.
And it's sort of interesting, Mark. I live in the Valley here, the middle of it. And and I know you have a little bit of a holdback on the Valley, but it's the same. Yeah, but the feeling that I get from you is that you're looking for startups, and you're not like trying to build your portfolio and show the best IRR. You're very economically focused, but you're looking to really help these guys realize their dreams.
Yeah, and also because it's television, you want to send a message that the American dream is alive and well. I do the show not because I'm trying to make more money, even though I've done okay, I've done well with it, but I do it because kids watch it, families watch it together, and we get, all the sharks get to inspire these kids to go out there and start businesses.
Right.
And to me, that's needed. That's of huge value, and that's why I do the show. Excuse me. And if ever I felt like I wasn't having an impact, and kids weren't benefiting from it, then I would stop.
It is kind of amazing, and I really do tip my cap sincerely. The time we live in today, everyone thinks they can start a company,
and they can.
Yeah.
It's what happens next.
when we were growing up, we all thought we were going to go work for a bank or a.
And not you, maybe you, right? But I tried to work for a bank, and I tried to work for these places. I was just always a lousy employee. But but you're right. Now, particularly Gen Z, there was a time with millennials and stuff. Maybe they weren't as excited about business, but Gen Z is all about how can I do this? How can I do that? And when you hire kids that age, Mavericks players, that are in their early 20s or younger, they have a sense of mission, socially and entrepreneurially, that I think is really important.
Yeah, it's great. I see it all the time too. When you are evaluating some of this talent, Shark Tank or not, what are you looking for as you evaluate? Like, you're evaluating your players on draft day, right? Now you're evaluating these startups. Is it the technology? Is it the idea, the concept, how unique it is, the potential disruption, the moat around it before it gets copied, or the or the kid? Or the person.
It really depends on what the business is trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
If it's twisted up combs, which is a different way to style your hair for African American hair, that's one thing, right? Or if it's a vegan hamburger company, Legendary Burgers, that's a lifestyle thing. If it's Panoramic, which got sold to Carvana, that's a technology play. Each one of them has, a different need and a different type of approach that I take. So sometimes it's the horse, sometimes it's the jockey. It really just depends on what the business is. And sometimes it's just for TV. there's been deals that I knew would be awful financially, but I really wanted people to realize that, they're probably not going to hear the long-term story where it probably doesn't work, but they see somebody really excited who started in their kitchen and something special gets to happen to them.
No, I appreciate that and your candor around the TV factor, because that makes it special too. The the trick of a successful company though, like what really hits the you know the big numbers, the unicorn status, these guys, how much of that can you even figure out at early stage?
I mean, you can in a certain respect. Like with broadcast.com as AudioNet, I remember meeting and we had like 20 employees and having a get together because we wanted to take a picture and saying, look, if we do this right, this company's going to be worth $5 billion because we're going to change all of media.
Wow.
And if we execute well, that's exactly what's going to happen. And that's exactly what did happen. Now, I also told them there's a chance that, we'd fail miserably if we didn't execute. But you can tell when somebody's got a unique proposition where the demand is there before they even ship. And then it's just a question of can they fulfill it and can they continue to be agile and evolve? Because growing a company, having a company that can grow is one thing, growing it is another. Sustaining that growth and doing it well is a whole nother. And those all take different skill sets.
Right. What do you focus on the most yourself when you're working with startups?
Just looking at the strengths of the company and the strengths and weaknesses of the company, the product, the service, whatever it may be, and the same with the entrepreneur, and then trying to determine where I can add value. And some entrepreneurs, they don't want to be helped. It's like, thanks for the investment, Mark. You're there if we need you and appreciate it.
What do you mean?
Or hit me up on email or calling me every other minute, and that's fine too. It's just a question of understanding the entrepreneur and how they work and what they need and what's going to make the company successful.
That's great. How many deals have you done over 10 years?
Yeah, and by the way, we're still killing it. Friday nights on ABC, and we're still winning the night every night in the demo. It's unbelievable all these years in. But
I hear these big ratings can sometimes lead to a presidential run or something.
No, that's not going to happen. I can tell you that with 100% certainty. That's not going to happen.
I was looking for a big scoop.
No big scoop. Sorry. Where were we?
The number of deals you've done.
That's right. Over the course of Shark Tank, I've probably said yes to 200 companies. Probably 70% of those closed because we get to do due diligence after the fact. And sometimes they'll say their widgets cost $1 to make, and they only cost $1 if you make 1 billion of them, and they've made 17. So sometimes you get that. But of the ones, the 130, 40 that I've closed, they follow the normal distribution where 10 to 20% just crush it, 10 to 20% fail, and the rest are just normal companies. And over the years, probably a 10% IRR, annual IRR, which is not going to put me in the record books, but given some of those are basically, done just for television, that's not bad.
I have to believe you're 100% higher than O'Leary.
Yeah, that's not saying much.
A funny sidebar is I met him after I met you through the Computer Retail Week side of things.
Yeah, I remember that.
When his claim to fame was taking a whole bunch of CDs out of those big boxes we used to sell and put them in these little packages and then put them on spinner racks at Walmart and other kind of mass merchant.
For those, because I was working, after I sold Micro Solutions, I was working some with CompUSA and doing some consulting and talking, dealing with retail and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that was funny. So this is called the look back, Mark. So when you look back, I mean, not many regrets probably from where you're sitting, besides maybe buying the Warriors instead of the Mavericks. What do you think about that you might have changed things, either job, career, position?
Oh,
yeah.
I think the only thing I would have done is I would have been nicer, because sometimes in those early days, particularly with Micro Solutions, I used to get so intense and was on such a mission that, I never tried to be mean to somebody, but I wasn't always nice to everybody, and it probably slowed me down and probably could have done even better if I just would have been nicer. I was always nice to our employees, never yelled, but there were times when, I would be snippy, and, I would be irritable if someone did something in a way that I thought wasn't thought out, right? Use common sense. This is just common sense. Where's the common sense? Those types of things that I know didn't make people feel better, that probably would have worked out. But, when it was all said and done, out of the 80 employees that we had over those 7 years, we had only one person leave, and that person came back to work for us. So that was a pretty good track record.
Mark, I know it's been a roller coaster ride, and all kinds of businesses are, right. But I've met a lot of great people in my career with the interviews. Always enjoyed our conversations. You were always
Yeah,
super
sure.
friendly and helpful. When I just want to jump to the current phase of things, because you're always so knowledgeable on these trends, and it's interesting the areas of Bitcoin and NFTs and how they're going to impact the sports world. A lot of people don't understand it, but it has a potential of material impact.
Yeah, and put aside the collectible side, right? NFTs as, digital collectibles of, videos from sports or whatever, or even business. The real upside is in business, being able to change business processes using blockchain and smart contracts. Where, the simple example is, if the Mavericks want to buy insurance on the weather, because if the weather in Dallas falls below 0 degrees and there's more than 2 inches of snow, people aren't going to come to the game. So why not do that on a smart contract as opposed to going to a traditional insurance company? Where because with a smart contract, it could just take the data from the National Weather Service for the area, for the zip code where the Mavs arena is, the American Airlines Center, and buy X amount of insurance. And if the precipitation goes above and the temperature goes below those numbers that I bought, it just automatically pays me in a stable coin like USDC or DAI or whatever, goes into my crypto wallet, and I don't have to talk to anybody. And that whole approach of doing trustless transactions, and when they talk about trustless, they just mean, historically, we do businesses with companies we trust because they're big, right? We want bigger insurance companies, we want bigger banks, we want bigger organizations, because they should be more trustworthy. No one ever got in trouble for doing business with IBM, right? And so that's all built on trust. But the reality is, our trust in those big institutions is falling like a rock. We don't trust the insurance company just to pay our claim and without giving us a lot of grief. We don't trust our bank to pay us the maximum amount of interest that we should be able to earn. We don't trust them not to charge us fees for, in a way that is, negative for our bank account. That one overdraft where they charge you $70, as opposed to just saying, okay, we'll loan you the money and pay us back, whatever, right? There's just so many things that the institutions we historically have trusted, we no longer trust. Now with blockchain and proof of stake and proof of validation and all these different approaches to verification, you're going to see those business processes move to blockchain, and it'll be what's called trustless, because instead of trusting somebody who works for the insurance company, you're trusting some, maybe artificial intelligence to a certain degree, and once it passes through AI, you're trusting validators who are trained, but they don't know who you are, and they don't work for anybody. They just get paid by the transaction, whether they approve you or not. And so as a result, you're going to see things like my insurance example with the weather. You'll see things with health insurance. You'll see things with car insurance. You'll see things with real estate transactions, just never-ending applications.
Yeah, it's that's the same concept as the indelible ledger, right? It's secure. It's because it's in many different
Well, yeah, right. So it's fully distributed and replicated, but it's because it's the blockchain, the way the blockchain is set up, it's all anonymous, basically. It's public, right? That thing is, whatever is written to the blockchain is public for everybody to see, which is good. But at the same time, the people who are making the decisions to put it on the blockchain, that's all, when it's written, those are all miners or validators, and that's all trustless, which is incredible.
Well, that was going to lead into one of my final questions, Mark, which is, if you were going to start a business today, so micro solutions today for you, what would it be? And it seems like you're giving me a little picture of the answer, perhaps. But
Yeah, I mean, it depends
give
how
a
old I
few.
was. I mean, if I'm 16, I'm probably doing something with Alexa where I'm going door to door and business to business, telling people I can customize their Alexa to do things that can simplify their lives. It probably doing something with artificial intelligence, making sure that just like back in the day, I taught myself netware and programming and, wide area networking principles and technologies. Now I'd probably do AI and, trustless applications, replacing traditional SaaS and software that run big companies to allow small companies to do the same things, but in a trustless environment. So you don't need to go through 3 layers, and you remove and the end game is remove a ton of friction and a ton of cost.
Got it. Well, that makes great sense. So I'm such a sports junkie. I have to close on sports now. What are we going to see as the next big step in the evolution of watching sports, either at home or at the stadium? I think you just built a new arena too, right?
No, that was 20 years ago, Pete.
Seemed like yesterday.
It does seem like yesterday.
Maybe it was some new technology that you.
Yeah, we do a lot. Yeah, we do.
Save me here. What was I talking about?
There's going to be a lot of changes in how people consume. I mean, look, the whole concept of AudioNet and broadcast.com was to give people media how, where, and when they want that. And now we can do that with streaming. Anything you want, you can get any way you want it, when you want it. But the key is how you want it now. What type of presentation are we going to give? And that's what's going to change. Because the way you and I have learned to consume sports, sit down and watch a game, maybe turn on Sports Center, right? Maybe get a highlight online or whatever, is completely different than the way Gen Z consumes sports. Everything is on Snapchat Discover, it's on TikTok, it's on Instagram Reels, and it's in very short bites. And so like my 11-year-old son can't sit and watch a whole game. But if you just throw highlights of it, Luka highlights, and he knows all the players, Steph highlights, he's going to go, oh, I love it. I love basketball. And that's what all the data says as well, that, among Gen Z, the NBA is even more popular than the NFL now. But what we haven't conquered is the best way to present our games to Gen Z. And what I think is going to happen is, rather than saying, okay, sit down and watch a whole game in front of the TV or streaming, it's going to be, we're going to give it to you by possession in bites. And even though it ends up being somewhat similar to a TV game, maybe the announcers are different, but it's only given to you in short bites. And so possession, another possession, another possession. All right, interview, someone doing a stupid dance, back to the game. And so just those short bites, I think, is where we're going.
It changes the economic model a little bit, doesn't it?
Not necessarily, because the average viewer for a televised game is about 40 to 42 minutes. And so all we have to do is get them to consume our game for 42 minutes, and the economic model is the same. And if we can get them to watch more than 42, it's even better.
That's awesome. What about the in-person experience? I hate watching my phone as I'm watching the game. I've got,
right. Yeah, I mean, we try to make it so your head's up as much as possible. There's been some teams that are trying to do things on phones and this and that, send this to the phone. And we avoid that, because we try to make it, if, whether it's on the Jumbotron, whether it's on the court, whether it's during the game, there's always something going on. We know you're going to check your phone, but we want to keep your attention as much as possible. And, we'll continue to do that. But again, it's more, how do you just keep the energy up in the arena? Because that's what makes it different than watching on your phone or watching at home, is when you walk into an arena of a game, you feel the energy, you feel the excitement, you feel that, the energy from all the people around you. And, there's nothing better than, it's a close game and you're chanting and screaming. And again, you feel the energy, and then, someone hits a game winner and you're high-fiving and hugging people you've never met before in your life. Yep. And that's what makes going to a game different.
Yep. Well, with that, I'll let you get back to it, because I know you, between your spreadsheets and your jump shots, you've got a busy day.
You've got a lot going on, just like you.
You got to go take out the Lakers.
Yeah. It's a big game tonight. We play them. So because of the COVID schedule, compressed schedule, we play them tonight, have a day off, and then we play them again on Saturday. So
is LeBron and AD still out?
I think LeBron's out. I think AD's playing tonight. Oh,
good. Okay, well, that'll make it fun.
Yep.
Hey, man, and that was brilliant picking Luka. That was a steal.
Right.
Man, you nailed it. Mark, thanks a tremendous amount. Appreciate it.
Anytime, Keith. Always been great. And thanks for everything you did for me in the beginning.
Tons of success.
Thanks, Keith. Take care, buddy.
Bye-bye. Yay.
That's a wrap.
Hey.
That was awesome.
Oh, he's great.
He was so nice.
Yeah.
Did you hear what he said? He wish he would do better, where he wish he did better in his